What's up, everyone? I'm your female otaku, and I'm here to talk about the spring 2020 anime season thus far. While quite a few series have been postponed, we've still got a solid lineup on our hands. In fact, I'm watching over 10 series, but that's a lot to handle for one person. So I'm gonna need to call out my friend Logan for assistance. You're up, buddy.
Of all the series this season, this one probably needs the least introduction. But just in case, Kaguyasama already made a splash in 2019 by being a stylish, well-animated, and downright hilarious adaptation of its source material. The series follows two genius students at a prestigious academy who are too prideful to admit they like each other. Thus, a slow and humorous romance begins as they both attempt to make the other confess their feelings first. It sounds ridiculous, and it is, but there are plenty of reasons to stick around. Be that the aforementioned romantic elements, the, in my opinion, gut-busting comedy, or the interactions between everyone thanks to the stellar voice work from the cast. It's a series that never fails to put a smile on my face, and given current circumstances, I think a series like that is invaluable. Thankfully, Season 2 has already proven to be more of the same. We've got the same studio back, same director, heck, we even got the same singer for the OP, Masayuki Suzuki. As the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Kaguyasama has all the makings of a well-oiled machine. At least, so far. Many sequel series or continuations set to originally air this season have been pushed back due to the current state of affairs the world over right now. It's an unfortunate reality that, for now, Kaguya-sama has avoided. Hopefully, that's the result of a good production cycle, but regardless, for the time being, I'm going to enjoy every single episode to its fullest, and so should you. Odds are, if you liked the first season, then I'm already just preaching to the choir. Either way, this has my biggest stamp of approval, and will definitely be one of the shows I'm looking forward to most each week.
It's getting harder and harder for an isekai anime to stick out. They try to have a slight twist to make things different, but all things considered, the plot is the exact same. Villainous isn't anything like that. First off, we have a female protagonist, which is a rarity for isekai anime. Second, she got reincarnated into an otome game. And finally, she's the bad guy.
Duh.
This means no matter what she does, she'll either die or get exiled because she isn't the protagonist of the otome game. So her only choice is to go the exiled route and try to survive. While the protagonist is trying to change her fate by being kind to all the other characters, there's still quite a few things that line up with the game. Looks like the isekai genre hasn't run out of ideas yet.
Wave Listen to Me is the kind of anime we need with—
Oh wait! I want to tackle this one.
By all means.
You know that anime character trope of the older woman who can't seem to get a man and gets drunk every night? What if we made her the main character for once? I love a flawed protagonist, and Minare fits the bill perfectly. She's loud, blunt, and has absolutely no class. But that's perfect for a late-night radio talk show host. Her personal life may not be ideal, but at least we get to witness her outlet for relieving all that stress an adult life gives you. Speaking of stressful adult life—
if you're familiar with anime studios, and I say Dogakobo, your mind probably conjures images of cute girls doing any number of cute things, often painted with a color palette that can only be described as aggressively pastel. I.e., if you've seen a show in this genre, there's a good chance it was made by them. With that in mind, Sing Yesterday for me feels decidedly outside this studio's wheelhouse, at least from a visual standpoint. Not to say it looks bad, quite the opposite. It's just a pleasant surprise to see the other hallmarks of this studio, the great and purposeful character animation, lovely designs, and solid direction, still present. Don't always judge a studio by its most popular titles. On the story side of things, Sing Yesterday for me has a dash of drama, a bit of romance, and a good old helping of existentialism baked into this show about several young adults finding their way in the world and how our relationships evolve as that happens. There also seem to be artistic ambitions when it comes to several characters, from sketching to photography to music, so that's something that I hope unfolds more as things progress. It's definitely got a serious tone to it, but it's not without lighter moments mainly brought about by Haru, the girl who's got the pet crow, and right now seems to be the narrative link between several of the main characters, and I suspect will be integral to the changing relationships I mentioned earlier. And judging based on what's happened so far, this seems like it's going to be one of the main driving forces for the plot, so I'm interested to see where the story goes as a result. For now, it has my attention for all the right reasons. Kakuchi Gotoh is a series that, through a few episodes, is still a bit up in the air for me. On one level, it's a cute slice-of-life story about a father being too embarrassed about drawing crude manga to admit that it's his job to his young daughter, and the extreme lengths he'll go to in order to keep that secret from her. But on another level, there seems to be two stories going on here concurrently, at least from our point of view, as we occasionally get a glimpse into the future. The first episode literally starts with Hime learning the truth once she's in high school, so I'm curious to see how the story will unfold from here. The implication seems to be that her dad is now gone for some unknown reason, so I wouldn't be too surprised if this anime takes a somber turn by the end. On an artistic note though, I really enjoy the simple character designs. When paired with the series' nice and relaxing color palette, it just makes for a show that's very pleasant to watch. Overall, the comedy can be hit or miss depending on your personal tastes, but I do think it succeeds at making you believe and care about a very wholesome bond between father and daughter. If you feel inclined to stick around, this show is one that might just surprise you.
As a fan of the music genre, I will be honest and say a lot of them are the same at heart. It's either a music drama where you'll definitely cry at some point, or a story about a ragtag group of friends who want to be famous. Listeners decided to smoke some crack and combine music with mechs to create ass-kicking boomboxes. Now that sounds pretty good, but unfortunately it's poorly executed. The jokes aren't funny, the characters are uninteresting, and there isn't a purpose for musically controlled mechs. Like, yes, the mechs gotta kill the monsters, but why do they have to be boomboxes and play music? The origins of the monsters were explained, and it didn't give us an answer to my question. Which is weird, cause you see in the opening that all the pilots are practically idols, so music is heavily involved in the story, but for no reason. Overall, Listeners is random just because, so it isn't worth your time.
Arte, I really don't know if it could be pronounced art in English, is a unique series simply for its setting. You don't see too many animes set during the Renaissance. That in and of itself may be enough to pique your interest like it did for me. From there though, it's on the story, and Arte has been solidly okay in this department. We follow our titular character's journey in Florence as she works towards her goal of becoming an artist. The only problem is she's a girl, and therefore has to upend a number of stereotypes in which this period of history is firmly entrenched in order to do so. It's hard to tell a story like this, set in this time period with this character, without conflict arising from those stereotypes. Which is fine, it's historically accurate and can be an empowering story when done well. And so far, I am enjoying Arte for what it is. But I also can't help but see a trend possibly emerging after only 2 episodes. Basically, the plot has boiled down to Arte trying to do a thing, but running into troubles because she's a girl. First, it's becoming an apprentice to begin with, and second, it's getting into a workshop to sketch a sculpture. Each time she's refused repeatedly until a man gives her an assignment that is deemed near impossible, only for Arte to show them up and have her resolve impress them to the point where they change their mind about her. The only real difference is Leo, the first guy who ultimately makes her his apprentice, was questioning her desire and drive to be an artist, whereas the second guy was just an asshole. Again, these elements aren't bad, I just think the script could use a bit more polish. I'm still on board for now, but I hope things don't continue to be this formulaic.
This anime is weird. I've seen a lot of strange anime, and I'm totally used to ecchi, and even violent ecchi. But buddy, let me tell you that this one doesn't sit right with me. You have a guy that can turn into a goofy costume, and his dominant kohai literally goes inside him to fight other shapeshifters. I drew the line when the kohai got inside of him because she was giving detailed descriptions and just, no. No, I draw the line at vor. To each their own, man, but this just isn't for me.
So do you remember that little series One Punch Man? Well, what if there was that show, but it wasn't primarily a comedy, and instead of punches, the protagonist just throws around money? That's basically Fugo Keiji, Balance Unlimited, aka Millionaire Detective. And boy, that English title could not be more misleading because, as far as I can tell, dude just has all the money. Yeah, the Balance Unlimited part isn't a Fate reference, it's just the truth. Don't ask me how that works because I'm guessing it's never gonna be fully explained. It's just part of the setup. That being Detective Kanbei Daisuke solves crimes by buying stuff, be that cars, buildings, or literal information. It feels like a premise more well suited to a comedy a la the previously mentioned One Punch Man, but only time will tell with this one. As of right now, it does dabble with comedic elements, but considering it's an anime, those aspects are definitely more downplayed compared to what we're used to seeing in this medium. Personally, I'm just waiting for someone to ask for an ungodly amount of money, like he always asks them to name their price, and the balance is unlimited, so what happens if I say $1 trillion? Those kinds of questions are ones I start to ask when a series like this angles towards a more serious edge. Sooner or later, the dude's gonna single-handedly crash the world economy, that's all I'm getting at. That is more on me than the series, though. Thus far, it's been pretty episodic, so I'll be curious to see if a bigger arc starts soon, and if there's anything Daisuke and his money can't buy. Based on the dynamic between him and the other detective, it seems like we'll get there at some point, or maybe it's just the fact that he really doesn't like the concept of using money, so they're constantly just gonna butt heads and that's why. I don't know. If nothing else, it's managed to get me thinking about it.
Hey friend, do you like Hunter x Hunter? Is your favorite arc the Hunter exam? Probably not. But it's got Killua Light, so it's gotta draw you in! The first webtoon and Crunchyroll original production is certainly making its mark on the community. While it's not anything game-changing, it is fun to see what a Korean shonen is like. It takes the best aspects from all your favorite anime. Love Inosuke? He's right there! Sucker for tournament arcs? This whole anime is a tournament arc! And let's not forget our boring protagonist that everyone loves because he's got a baby face. Ooh ooh. If you like to stay in the know, then don't pass up on Tower of God.
When it comes to original stories in anime, there's always a degree of fun because nobody really knows what to expect. There are no people who are arcs and arcs ahead thanks to the manga, and you can guarantee some level of closure by the end of 12 to 24 episodes. Arte Ranman is one of these anime original stories with quite an interesting hook. It's a cross-country car race from California to New York at the turn of the 20th century. We've only been formally introduced to a few of the competitors so far, one of which is the central character, Arte. He feels a lot like Senku from Dr. Stone, obsessed with inventing stuff and is fixated on only that desire. The only difference is he seems a bit more dense than his shonen counterparts and more into tinkering and mechanics than just all of science. Beyond that, it's a little hard to tell how soon we'll actually get to see the race. The first episode starts with it before cutting to our main character's backstory, and then the second episode basically continues on from there, which leads me to believe we're going to be following that timeline until we reach the race again. I'm sure it won't be too long, and it is important to flesh out characters, but I feel like that's where the real fun of the series is going to come from. Plus, then there's more time for off-road shenanigans and more of America to potentially see. Hopefully it's at least a fun time with some crazy cars, cool contestants, and hey, maybe they'll cross through your state if you live in the US. And yeah, that's some of what I think is worth watching in spring 2020. Thanks to you all for watching, and thanks to Sloan for having me on. This was a lot of fun. If you want to check out my stuff, I'm sure there's a link somewhere, or you can just search me on YouTube or Twitter at TazerLad. I talk about a good range of manga and anime, so check me out if you feel so inclined.
Thanks, Logan, for helping me out. We gotta do this again sometime. Are there any anime we should check out? Let us know what series you're watching this season. I want to give a very special shout out to Giovanni Herrera and Fiery Artin for donating to my Patreon. If you want a very special shout out in the next video, stream, or what have you, then please click on the Patreon link in the description to donate, as well as the links to my social media. I'm your female otaku. Sayonara.